Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. So, it's mystery review time. This is episode 2. I'm going to try making this a regular thing. Next week might not happen, so I might have to do it earlier. So, yeah. We are going to be discussing 2 movies instead of 3 this time. And here's your hint. Retired CIA. So let's see if anybody in the chat can actually guess what it is. And let's see if I can actually get this to be up to snuff. There. Actually. That should get it up to the thing. So I see that I have only one person in the chat, but that is currently me. So I can stay up to date with anybody who is in the chat. But yes, today I'm actually going to be talking, if you have guessed it by now, for those of you who watch on the replay, I'm going to be reviewing Red 1 and Red 2. This is the movies of ex-CIA agent Frank Moses, Marvin Boggs, and a slew of other characters, especially Helen Mirren's character, Victoria. Now, this movie is indeed a wonderful movie to watch, especially Red 1. When I saw it for the first time, I'm like, okay, this is awesome. And one of the brilliant things I noticed when I got it on Blu-ray and DVD was the special features also included an audio commentary track of somebody who was actually in the CIA, who actually knows a little bit of the trade, which was pretty cool. And hold on one second. I see 2 people in the chat now. 3 watching. That's awesome. Good to see you. Say hello so I know who you are. But yes, for those of you who are just joining, I will give the hint now. Former CIA, and it stars Bruce Willis. So if you can guess who are from those, how you doing, the Oz? Good to see you, Epime. I am Riot Kitty. Good to see you as well. But yes, ex-CIA and Bruce Willis. Those are your 2 hints to the mystery movies that I am reviewing. As I said, it's only 2. Yep, you got it, Oz. It's Red and Red 2, the sequel. I will be doing reviews and discussion on both of these. Now, as I was saying before I noticed people were in the chat, this movie, if you have it on DVD, actually has an audio commentary of a former CIA person who consulted for this movie. And he actually tells you a little bit of the different things, like what doesn't happen in real life and what does happen in real life. And this movie starts out with basically Frank Moses just waking up dead at 6 a.m., like on the dot, the actual second 6 a.m., he's up. And he's just going through his morning routine, and he's doing his punching bag, his exercising. A person who is in the CIA, according to the consultant guy that was in the audio commentary, he actually does this, or this is something that most retirees would do. They want to keep in shape. They want to stay fit. But they are also do have a sense of paranoia if they are field agents. And so, oh yeah, that's pretty cool, right? And so when Moses then starts calling pension services because he gets his pension check, and he's like, okay, time to handle this. And he calls pension services and rips the check. And So he's saying that it doesn't come. He's staring. It still hasn't come yet. And they're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they haven't figured this out." This is a great introduction to Mary Louise Parker's character Sarah, and you automatically feel that they have a rapport. And when he rips it up, it's like, okay, this tells me that he's only there to talk to, or that he's only calling to talk to her. And then it, lo and behold, actually happens. John Malkovich and Brian Cox made those movies for me. Yes, Malkovich is a very great character, and so is Brian Cox. Both those characters were funny and very entertaining. So when you establish that he's just talking with, or he just calls to talk with her, it's very touching because it's like, okay, he actually likes this woman. And she's like, I'm thinking Chile, or she wants to go to Chile. He's like, you ever been to Chile? Yeah. You have? What's it like? Mountains. Mountains? No, it was night. And then he hangs up the phone and whatnot. And he's like, it was night. Oh, he can't. It's just funny. And then he's going about his day. He goes to get his mail the next day, and you see that, or he says hi to one of the neighbors who says hi to him, and he notices he doesn't have any Christmas stuff out. But then again, if you're a person like Frank Moses, who's been in the CIA for years, super spy extraordinaire, basically, you really wouldn't. You're not focused on that kind of stuff. But he's like, I mean, I am retired, so maybe I should fit in. So he gets a couple of things and whatnot. You're establishing the setting, the house. And then he's talking with Sarah the next day when he gets his pension. And they're talking about the avocado. Now, there's also a trivia track to the Blu-ray of Red. And this trivia track, I shit you not, you learn so much stuff. This is the thing that I learned what avocado actually loosely translates into down in South America. You also learn, I would have thought a CIA field agent would have been super aware of his surroundings and how to blend in. Well, he's retired, remember. He is retired, and so he doesn't really think that people are going to come after him, really. So he doesn't really feel the need for that stuff yet. So when he's talking about the avocado, and then I'm watching the trivia track as well, you notice, or it comes up, that avocado translates into testicle. No joke. No joke. Avocado. Look up avocado testicle. You'll find, or you'll get it. And so they're talking about books, and him and Sarah, the pensioner girl, or the pension services girl, and he's reading Love Savage Secrets, she's reading it, and they're both basically, it's like, wow. But then this is where the movie starts to pick up into the action area. He wakes up in the dead of night, I think it's like 3 a.m. or something. Automatically, you know something's not right. I mean, he's always up at like 6 a.m. on the dot every day. Woke idiot. I'd like super expensive testicles toast, please. Oh my god. Yeah, basically. Although I don't remember much, but the climax of both still stay fresh in my mind. Yes, I will say that. The action in these movies are actually very well done. So, yes, unfortunately, that is what avocado, and believe me, I'll never eat avocado. For that very reason, I will never touch an avocado. But yeah, this is where the whole thing picks up. And these movies do have objective flaws. And these movies do have subjective entertainment. Now, Objectively, this movie I would actually put at an 8.5 to 9 for Red, because it actually does have good writing. There is some acting that could have been a little bit better, but there's also stuff that, well, could have been a little worse too. But they have a lot of great actors in this movie. And Morgan Freeman's character is such a freaking perv, but also freaking great. After Frank gets some uninvited visitors of a hit team, South African hit team, into his house, the way that he handles it, he just goes down acting like it's normal, and they're all following him. You think that he's not aware, but then he turns out behind them when they kick in the door, and he kills all three of them. And it's like, okay, that works. It shows the efficiency that this man is not a man to be messed with. It's a great character establishment that Frank Moses knows or is not just a retired pensioner. He also happens to be very skilled in combat. So then he's listening to the radio. He knows that there are more people out there. So he does a brilliant setup to draw them in, which is takes the bullets out of one of the things, puts them in a frying pan with some oil. And then he goes down and starts beating on the floor to get his stuff. Because if a person in the CIA, this was from the consultant's track, if you are compromised or you are in danger, you get the hell out. You also go off grid. You steal cars. You steal credit cards. You don't use anything that can be tracing you digitally and stuff like that. And yes, time to cook some bullets. And the thing is, that was actually tested. Somebody actually tried doing that whole thing. And believe it or not, folks, I have seen a person pick up a frozen bullet in the woods with their bare hand, and it went off in their hand because of the massive temperature differential. But so then he takes care of the guys who shoot the hell out of his house. I mean, in the middle of the night, high automatic fire. How the hell are people not awake, wondering what the hell's going on? That's one of the questions. It's like, yes, Red did it first, but people actually tested it after the movie was made, is what I meant. But it's like, who did the floor armory first, John Wick or Red? Red, because Red was like years before John Wick. But yeah, that's basically a thing for anybody who has a, well, rather violent past and want to bury it. It's very symbolic in a way. So, I see that there are 4 people in the chat. So that means another has come in. Angela Straven, good to see you. Thank you for stopping in. Except for my best friend, she can sleep through a nuclear holocaust. Well, if she sleeps through that, she probably got dead or she probably got caught up in a shockwave or the blast. I mean, I used to be able to sleep through a lot of things, but now I'm an extremely light sleeper. Basically, anybody who has gone through traumatic situations or anything like that, you learn to sleep light. You really do. The only time you ever allow yourself to sleep heavy is if you know that you are in a comfort zone. But even me, I don't ever believe I'm in a comfort zone because of my own PTSD. But I digress. How did everyone ignore gunfire? They probably live in a city where firearms are banned. These movies were made before any of the woke nonsense even happened. And it's very evident in these movies. So after Frank disappears, we get introduced to another character. I mean, he literally walks out of his house and then the freaking front end of the house just caves. It's like, oh my God, how nobody was outside wondering what happened to Frank was weird. Honestly, it really was. And so when you see this happen, it's like, oh my God, really? So then you get introduced to another character who is in a retirement home, and it's Morgan Freeman's character, Joe. Or no, wait, I digress. I messed up. He actually goes to Kansas. He gets to Kansas and he kidnaps Sarah. Sarah just went out on a date, and he's like, "Aren't you even going to invite me inside?" "No, I don't think so." And so she's going up on all the stuff of what this date is like. And it's like, oh my god. Uh, Red 1 and Red 2, Biggles, thank you for stopping in. Great to see you. And I really do like these movies because how the story just lays out in a nice fluid way. Now, there are some areas where you could tell that there was more to a conversation, like in the Eagle's Nest later on, where he's talking with Victoria. But when he gets, when you actually think about his reasoning with all different or with all the different situations, where he's like, "There's somebody trying to kill me, and they're here to kill you too." Why would anybody want to kill me? Because they've been tracking our phones. They've been listening to our conversations. Why? Because they know because of the way I talk to you. Huh? Because they know I like you. And so he kidnaps her. Now, the way that he just talks about it, he's just casually throwing her stuff out the window, like a phone and all the other things. And he's like, "I just hope that you'll one day see this as the great big adventure that it is." He's just casually saying this to her. "This is not the way I want to meet you," and yada yada. But because of the situation that he's in, he has to go into this line of what he does. And so then he gets her to a hotel, tapes her back up, ties her back up. She's like, if you just let me go right now, I promise I won't press charges." We're way past charges. Well, think about it. If you take somebody across federal lines and you kidnap them, well, yeah, that's federal. That's beyond state. That's federal. Kidnapping girls named Sarah is no way to go, or is the way to go. Yeah, that's one way of thinking about it. So then then we get introduced to Joe, played by Morgan Freeman, a legendary actor, folks. Morgan Freeman in this movie, you get immediately that this is one person who is just very bored with his life. And so the woman one of the nurses there is helping him, and he's like, "Just give it a rap, see if it works." And she's like, "Why don't you ever repair this old thing? Better picture." And so he's like a little to the left, and it's still not working, the picture. And her butt's like right there. And he's like, "Yeah, that's just perfect." And she catches him. And then she just stands up, and I'm like, "Oh my." And she laughs it off and walks off. I'm like, "Wow, dude." And that's basically what Bruce Willis tells him, because he sees that Bruce Willis is there. They hug, so you automatically know they know each other. And he's like, "Unbelievable. You should be ashamed of yourself." And he's like, "So what can I do for you?" "Well, I had a visit from a wet team 24 hours ago." "Did you ID any of them?" You could say that. He hands him fingers, man. This used to be a gentleman's game. Then we get introduced to another major player who is played by Carl Urban. Now this is where people would be thinking, okay, this is young, he's probably not a retiree. And I really got to say that Carl Urban did a wonderful job in this movie. I like to think Morgan Freeman was playing the same character in Las Vegas, but his family hadn't discovered his identity yet. I honestly don't know what movie that is. What are you referring to, Oz? Let me know. And there's a lot. Carl Urban, one legend. Yeah, and there's a lot. He's just setting up and the thing. And when I was watching the CIA audio commentary track, it actually is revealed, yeah, this doesn't happen in the U.S. It is fully illegal for the CIA to operate wet work on or on U.S. soil. We don't kill our own, basically. And it's like, well, that's something interesting to know. I mean, if I ever become a CIA agent, I know that they'll never really try to kill me, I guess. But it is really good. And the way that these movies are set up, the way that these movies introduce the characters it works. It really does. You barely know anything about them, but that's okay because they're so mysterious. All you need to know is all this information you're given. And this is also because of the trivia track. You learn all sorts of different stuff. Like they give you all the different lowdown on weapons that are used in the movie, the M4, the M60, and whatnot that are used, grenade launchers, pistols, all of them. And so, De Niro, Kevin Kline, Robert De Niro, and Michael Douglas. Las Vegas. I'll have to check it out if I am able to. But yes, we get introduced and he's setting up a person, then he hangs the person, then he gets a call from one of his bosses and they assign him Frank Moses. And he's like, he's a retired analyst. He's CIA. Is that a problem? No. And it was like, okay. So you get the idea, or at first you think that it was CIA that was going after him immediately, or first, but it's like, well, whoever's trying to kill you has a serious hard on for you, because Joe is basically the guy to go for information. And he gives him the information. He's like, they also killed a New York Times reporter. This is actually sets up a little bit more of the story. And so while they're figuring stuff out, and he's like, I met a girl. That's complicated. She's literally breaking free from or from being tied up, and she calls 911. And this is just flagged just as Carl Urban's character is looking for him. And it's like, oh my gosh, man. The way that this movie is very well paced, it really is. It's like, take care of yourself. What are they going to do to me? I'm 80 years old. I got stage 4 liver cancer. I mean, I never thought that this would happen to me. What? Getting old. Vietnam, Afghanistan, retirement home. Oh my God. People who are in that line of work, they would rather prefer to die in that line of work because they see everything else as mundane and boring, so to speak. But for those who do want the quiet life, well, are they able to handle a quiet life, really? That's my thinking on it. And so as the story progresses, you see further and further what goes on, the kind of stuff that they do. And she gets injected with some cocaine, I think it is, or something. And she's like, am I going to die? He's like, nope. You're just going to need a lot of sleep. I may vomit. And so they're high as a kite right now. And then she wakes up later in San Francisco, or not in San Francisco, but New York City. She's like, how did we get to New York? The people that are looking for us killed the New York Times reporter. And so we need to talk to her. So they talk to her mom, and he's ready to just kidnap the mom and just tie her up and tape her up and whatnot. And she's like, people are generally decent people. It's not always been my experience. The way that Bruce Willis goes through a lot of this, the way that he handles conversations, the way that he's always constantly observing things, it is really cool to see. And then you see Joe is getting ready to handle some stuff. I did skip the first interaction between. Shit, I did. Yes, folks, I am doing a lot of this stuff out of order because I am missing a lot of things. Or I just watched these movies yesterday, and I can't believe I'm missing context and going out of order. But yes, they're in New Orleans, and he's getting my ring off here because it's kind of squeezing my finger. How you doing, Lethal? We're discussing Red and Red 2. So, yes. The first, or he then gets introduced to the young kid that's going after him, Cooper, played by Carl Urban, and they're using a police car, and she's like, wow, you really are CIA. She actually her acting in this, the way that after she gets injected with the drugs is like, holy shit, man. You honestly believe that she is higher than a freaking kite right now. Because honestly, they cannot use those kind of drugs in real life for acting and whatnot. So it's like, have you ever been high before? Because you're kind of doing it very well. Mary Louise Parker does a very good job as a person who is pushed into this life. So when you see that she has to react to all this stuff, and you see how Bruce Willis is handling all this stuff when he gets hit by Cooper and he just steps out of the car and starts walking away as it's spinning behind him. That is one of the coolest things you'll ever see in a freaking movie, man. And he just started blasting right there with his pistol. I wish I had one of the toy pistols I used to have to give a better context, but then I probably would also be kicked off of YouTube if I did, because they wouldn't be able to tell the difference because, well, YouTube just happens to be that stupid. So never mind. I'll just bang, bang, yeah, we'll go that route. So you see that he is very skilled at firing because he's going head and over in case because what most people do when they're getting shot at, they're going to move over to the side. And they're going to make sure, well, he shoots over at that side too. It's like, oh, damn. It's called shooting for effect. You're trying to hit the guy or you're trying to get him the hell away from you. And so then Frank does the smartest thing, that he outsmarts him. He outfoxes him. And he's like, officer down at this place and this place, Pico and Conti, send all units. The suspect is about 6'1", suit and tie, dark hair. And he sets him up perfectly because he gets caught by the cops. And then that's when they go to New York, find out that there's a hit list because this New York Times reporter is finding out stuff. The one that got killed by the same hit squad that went after Frank in the beginning. It's like, I'm actually there and can smell the gunpowder. Oh, that's interesting. And so you learn more about Frank and how he knows that he can speak Chinese and Mandarin and whatnot. Because Gina Chen went to Harvard Yenching, she got her mom got a postcard, and she's like, I tried calling numbers, it's nothing. Where'd she go to college? Because he recognizes that it's a book code for Harvard Yenching Library. And they find that the hit list, and during this time, there was a shot of Morgan Freeman talking to somebody, and then somebody comes into his room behind him and pulls a silencer out, and he's like, it's like that, isn't it? Or it's like that, is it? Yeah, it's like that. And so he puts his head down, and you think he's just been assassinated. And so then when they find out that everybody on the hit list is dying, like heart attack, falling or stairs, all these other accidents, he calls Joe, and, well, Joe's not there. There's a huge kerfuffle because the police and everybody is there. And so he gives the phone to Marna, who was getting her ass checked out by Morgan Freeman earlier in the movie. I mean, Morgan Freeman, man, he plays the perfect perv. Oh, that is just perfect. And then he gets caught and is like, he just gets this big shit-eating grin. It's pure awesome. But he realizes that Joe might have just been killed. All these accidents, you'd think they knew something about the Clintons. Oh, dude, yeah. Gotta check out the butts. Well, yeah, I mean, especially, or Lethal would definitely want to do this if he is a retired CIA. We know that Lyndon would because he's part of the full Aussie and he is CIA right now. I mean, we still don't know Lyndon's real name. So then they go down to find Marvin Box. Marvin died 2 years ago in a fire. And I love the little animation that they do with the CIA, the postcard with the one down in Florida where you see the swan and the two gators, and the gators just eat the swan. It's like, oh my god, it's fucking hilarious. So like, Marvin has died many times. Oh, can we take that one? They take a boat that's called the Eliminator. If you see somebody rolling up on a boat that's called the Eliminator, you definitely wouldn't trust it, you know? I mean, that's just me. Honestly, I would not trust it. But he's like, all right, so don't make any sudden moves. Don't use your cell phone. You took my cell phone. Don't talk about cell phones. Don't talk about satellites. Seriously? He comes, freaking John Malkovich. The dude is a freaking legend. He has more range than any other actor I have seen on screen. John Malkovich is just, wow. He has played an autistic or a low-functioning autistic of Mice and Men. He has played villains. He has played, well, crazy people. He and Gary Busey should do a movie together. Honestly, he and Gary Busey should do a movie together. Marvin is GOAT. So he comes in, why are you trying to kill me? I'm not trying to kill you. Oh, you are. Why would I be trying to kill you? Because last time we met, I tried to kill you. That was a long time ago. Some people hold on to things like that. So he grabs him up and he's like, nobody's trying to kill you. Lyndon would be checking out Morgan Freeman's butt. Woody? I always figured that Rhino would. But anyway, so what's the movie? We're going over Red and Red 2, Jade, Shadow, Mara. And so he's like, who's the girl? She's Sarah. She's not trying to kill you either. No, hi. You want to get that knife out of my balls now? And then they show just at the bottom of the screen, you see that there's a big Bowie knife right in freaking Bruce Willis's crotch. And I'm like, dude does not freaking play. I don't stay in the open. Let me show you the house. Oh, yes. They're decent movies. They're flawed, but they're freaking hilarious. John Malkovich and Donald Sutherland need to be in a movie together. I'm assuming they haven't done one yet. They probably haven't. But that would also be cool to watch, too. But I definitely want to see John Malkovich and Gary Busey do a freaking movie like these ones, like the Red movies. And you just see how crazy this paranoid. You think he's paranoid. You honestly will think, or you think it's just paranoia. He's like, I don't stay in the open. I'll show you the house. What's that? Decoy. It's like, decoy? What's wrong with you? Well, not everybody's thinking like that, Marvin. And so he opens up a freaking car, this old car, and just goes down into it. And I'm like, this dude has a freaking bunker, man, that I want. I want to live like Marvin. I really do, folks. This dude has a freaking bunker that just looks awesome. And he also has a records room. It's like, holy shit. So he's like, got a list here of people who are now dead. He's like, Frank, when you're in the system, they switch the flip and you're done. And he starts going over cell phones, internet, chips, satellites, the web, the dentist. It's like, the fuck does any of this have to do with the dentist? And it's just hilarious. It really is freaking hilarious. And he's like, Marvin, that's the only list we care about right now. Well, I have to check the files. And you learn, and this has actually been declassified by the CIA, folks. No joke. He's like, well, he's really crazy. Well, he thought he was being part of a mind control experiment during the 70s. Okay, sure. Turns out the CIA was dosing him every day of with LSD for 11 years. Well, in that case, he looks great. I'm like, LSD. This dude's been choking on acid daily for 11 years. Of course he's nuts. And so he finds the file that he needs to, and they find out that it was Guatemala 81. They were sent in to clean up the place because somebody just wipes out an entire village. And there's 5 people on this list, 9 not including us. And there's only 1 that's left alive. And I just love the lines that frickin' John Malkovich gives, man. It's like, or she's like, you think they want to kill everybody on this? Damn it. Do you know what's wrong with this country? So she says the clearest thing that would probably get him not upset. They're all trying to kill us? Exactly. It's like, oh my God. The way that they play off each other in this movie, the chemistry between the actors is so freaking great. So they're outside. She's calling somebody to get Gabriel Singer because he's one of the only people that are alive in this one. And he's like, Frank, we got to get rid of this broad. I know the perfect place up the river. Lots of alligators. We're not getting rid of the broad. I like her. Well, what's the angle? There's no angle. I like her. Then they find out it was Hunter Biden that did it, and they're all fucked. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Lot to unpack there, dude. Lot to unpack there. They must have, or that must have been a bitch to build in the swamps. Yeah, most likely, but I'm guessing it was a set piece. But it was brilliantly done. I mean, he has a freaking chandelier in a safe, man. It is just awesome. And so they go to see, or he sees a helicopter. Now you think all these little things are just little things, but they actually turn out to be relevant later on. This is a movie that is richly detailed, and it freaking works. It really does. Because he's looking, he notices that he notices the tail identification for the chopper. And then they go to Florida. And then there's this woman following him. He's like, you smell like Washington. Pulls the gun, ready to kill her. He's like, there's a camera in her bag. She's been following us, Frank. It's like, oh my God, there's not a camera in the bag, man. Ma'am, go. Dude, get a vehicle. Don't kill anyone. She was following us, Frank. And so they find Gabriel Singer. They start talking to him. And he's like, I never talked to the New York Times reporter. And he's like, okay, so you're on a hit list, and people are trying to kill you, and they're also trying to kill us. He's like, God damn it. Okay. It was this hairy little strip out in the middle of nowhere. I was sent in, or there's this guy running a show, this crazy little spook in a suit and tie. You remember that guy? Yeah. Dark glasses. And we were sent to take out a package. What was the package? Not a what, it was a who. So the plot thickens. So it's going good, G-Fan. How are you doing? Don't forget the pig. Yes. Frank, I can't believe I'm saying this again. I am getting the pig. You think that this is just another one of his crazy things, folks. This pig. You think it's just another one of his crazy eccentricities. We soon learn later it's not. This is a lead-lined pig on the inside with a freaking M4 in it. I'm like, what the fuck? So, after that helicopter shows up again, he's like, Frank, it's a helicopter. It's that same helicopter. We're at an airport. It's the same one, Frank. And so it's like, they're arguing over the tail number that he wrote down. That's a 4. I'll tell you who it is. Boom! And they start shooting up the place. Marvin is probably the best character in the Red movies. Honestly, agree. I agree. Right, Kitty? I actually agree with that statement. M32 grenade launcher. Okay, M32. Yes, I actually agree with that. And so, this is another thing. He's like, okay, we got one, but Or we lost visual. Okay, shake the tree. Again, folks, this was established by the guy who does the audio commentary is a former CIA person. He was formerly in the CIA. He's out as well. But he's like, CIA, or this is definitely not something that would ever be sanctioned by the CIA. We don't do wet works in the U.S. We don't kill Americans. I mean, that would be something for Homeland to take care of. And he's like, okay, shake the tree. You'll pay for the damage? Yeah, roger that. It's like, they shoot up an entire freaking tower, dude. But they're already on the ground, so yeah. Then you see them running, and that same woman that was following him, that's right, old man. It's like, old man? You see how Marvin just takes it. He's like, no respect. Can I kill her now? Yeah. So they're trying to find it, and he's like, get the pig. So they open the pig. He shoots. Bad freaking CGI, folks. There's some bad CGI. You can also tell that there's bad blue screen. But this is freaking media, or this is Millennium Entertainment that did these movies. So yes, they're not always up to snuff. They have always had bad blue and green screen in their movies. But it's gunfire in an airport. This seems fine. Oh, believe me, this was one of the more realistic ones where they actually drew some of the heat with the rescue and whatnot. But yeah, it's almost ridiculous on how little that kind of presence was there, rescue and police in this movie. It's like, it's just a fun movie. It's not meant to make sense except for the story itself. But these little detail things. Vincent Garzon, good morning. And welcome to the channel. You're not a name that I am recognizing. So yes, welcome to the channel. And we are discussing Red and Red 2. But so far we're only on Red. So then there's the showdown. Big ass freaking revolver. I think it's a 500 caliber or probably a 50 cal revolver. Yeah, it's a 50 cal revolver. And you get, or is it a 45? I'm terrible with guns when it comes to calibers, folks. I just like shooting them. But anyway, she has a freaking RPG. So it's like, she's shaking her head like this is going to be the easiest kill ever. Well, if you know anything about RPGs, you know that it wouldn't work that way. But in the movie, he literally shoots when she shoots. His bullet hits the RPG and blows it up and then her up. Old man, my ass. And I'm like, brilliant line. Nice shot. Thanks. He also does when he uses the grenade launcher to knock a grenade back at a guy. Satellites. Boop to that. Flipping them off. So they master escape with all of the heat and the fire and the smoke. And I just love the conversations between Marvin and Frank Moses. He's like, you sure know how to show a woman a good time, Frank. I will kill you, Marvin. And they're like, if it really is the CIA, there's only one place we can go where armed, whatnot. He's like, yep, we're definitely going to die for sure. In or out? Oh, of course I'm in. I'm just saying. So they stop, or he's like, we're going to need some serious help. So they stop at a freaking Russian consulate. It's like, this is not what I meant when I said we needed help, Frank. So you get introduced to Brian Cox's character, and he does wonderful accents. Brian Cox is an English actor, if I remember correctly. Frank Castle, no, that's a Red 3 I want to see. Oh, I would love to see it. Shoots airplane, commences a series of chain explosions. Yeah, I know, right? So you get introduced to Brian Cox, and he's like, I have often dreamed of killing you. And they're having this fight or talk, and he's like, but now I hear you're pensioner. But still, I owe you for Igor. Igor the Butcher. He was a great asset. He was a pig. He was my cousin. The freaking talk between these two is so great, and it's so hilarious because he's like, to Igor the Butcher. He's not dead, and he's like, what? I flipped him. No. He owns a string of 7-Elevens in Orange County. Fudge! He weighs 500 pounds. And it got me just freaking laughing my ass off, folks. And as it got them laughing their asses off, that line, the way that it all just plays out, it's like, he weighs 500 pounds. Oh! He just starts laughing his ass off. Ivan and Marvin need their own spin-off. Yes! 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 Right here, folks. This wins. This wins the internet. Ivan and Marvin need their own freaking spinoff. Definitely. But he's like, so I don't think you're here for the vodka. I need your entire security layout for Langley. Codes and cracks, codes, and all that stuff. Now, while they're all doing this, and after the first encounter with Moses, Cooper, the Carl Urban's character, goes and he's like, Frank Moses is not an analyst that never worked in the field. This guy has a history. And you get introduced to Ernest Borgnine, who is the records keeper in the back room. Now, when you're watching the CIA audio commentary, you learn some pretty neat stuff. There is a back room, there is a records room, and most people, when they go into the CIA, some of them want to learn some of the secrets, He's like, well, there was one time I actually did want to see the Kennedy file of the Kennedy assassination. And you learn that at any time, folks, at any time, there are only 5 people who are allowed to see the Kennedy assassination or the real Kennedy unredacted file. 5 people at any time. I'm guessing they're the heads of Homeland Security, the President of the United States, the head of the CIA, and 2 other people, I'm guessing. So, yeah, you learn some pretty cool stuff if you watch audio commentaries. That is something that I've always done. When I watch movies, if it has a commentary, I'll watch it. I'll also watch the movie, and then I'll watch more commentaries. When you get Lord of the Rings, the extended editions, you got like 3 or 4 commentaries that you can watch, and it's hilarious to watch all of them. Now, back to this one, he's like, I didn't know this place existed. It doesn't! Frickin' Ernest Borgnine, man. He hates the fact that some little frickin' thumbsuckers down there looking into shit. Frank Moses' file. And it's heavily redacted. He's like, you gotta be kidding me. Frank Moses was one of the most effective CIA operatives of his age. This man retired gangsters, warlords. Hell, he toppled governments. And he's like, well, why was he retired? He got old. And some thumbsucker came along and tagged him red. Red? Yeah, red. R-E-D, retired, extremely dangerous. Yeah, he was truly gifted. And they don't make him like that anymore. Thanks. It's like, another thing from the CIA guy, he's like, believe me, folks, when somebody says they don't make them like that anymore in the CIA, it bothers you. It really does, because we hate hearing how we're not up to snuff with the old school CIA. That was Ernest Borgnine's last movie, wasn't it? I do not believe so. I believe he did a Hallmark Christmas movie, and that was his last movie before he died. I'd have to look it up, or somebody else could look it up. I'm pretty sure one of you guys have internet, because if I start going to different things right now, I will literally lose my internet, and it will kick me out of the freaking stream. Bandwidth, folks, it sucks, and it's a Chromebook, so that's all I can do. But anyway, then they get into the CIA. They bust into the CIA. They get to the record room, and he's like, did he give you the code? Or did the Russians give you the code? No. Oh, before we get to that part, there's the elevator part. She's like, what do you think the punishment is for what we're doing here? Death, maybe life in prison. Awesome. She's just fully going along with this. She's just like, at first she was scared as hell. Then she was just kind of conflicted. And then she's just fully into it. Mary Louise Parker's character. Her character arc is like one of the weirdest, but really good. And so they have a contact lens that they got to put in, and this is an actual thing. The elevators do have security requirements that if you do not pass them in a timely manner, you get stopped by security. And the general has dropped his contact lens. Perhaps you'd like to help us? You see freaking MP5 security SWAT team getting on their knees for a contact lens. Oh, priceless. So she finds it, she puts it in. That contact lens was fucking huge. Jesus, man. Do you just want to put it over the entire freaking eyeball? But yeah, it still works. And they get in. He's like, Frank Moses, Ernest Borgnine. And he's like, it's been a long time. You're going to need to look at that Guatemala file. Guatemala? I think I can help you. He just gives him the freaking file. He's like, you'll catch hell for this. After what I've seen? It's like, so this guy is probably knows so much that the CIA would never dust him. So it's like, oh yeah, there was this young guy coming at you, or looking through your file by the name of Cooper. Cute hair, or 6'1", cute hair. Well, hair was cute. Yeah. I think he looked a little tough though. That is like a challenge to the to the older guys. He's like, take care of yourself, Henry. You too, Mr. Moses. Change of plan. So he goes after frickin' Cooper. He goes in, attacks him in his office, they're both getting the shit beat out of each other. Bad move, Grandpa. When he's calling him Grandpa, you have no idea how accurate that kind of is. Not lineage-wise, but generation-wise. Because you then, in that same fight, he gets him in an armbar and he's like, Kordeski trained you. Yeah, I trained Kordeski. Pop! And then he pops his arm out. So Grandpa actually fits. He trained the guy that trained him. It's just really fits in a way, The fight is brutal. It really looks great. The fact that they use the environment around him, that office, it just shows you just how well he does it. Also, when he drops Moses down, he takes his tie off because he knows he's going up against somebody who might just use that tie against him. You don't want to get your freaking tie wrapped around your throat or anything in a fight. So you remove anything that could possibly be used against you. They really do pay attention to things like this, and it is so great. That's what makes these movies great. So after they escape from the CIA, Frank builds a bomb. I can't really go in. I will be here for like 3 hours if I do the whole play-by-play. But they get out, and Marvin has a gun to his head in the ambulance, and they're like, what the hell is going on? And now listen here, you little shit. Yeah. So he's like, gets in, or then you see that Joe, Morgan Freeman's not dead. He's like, there's still something wrong with this guy's head, Frank. And so they escape. He's like, Joe who is dead, Joe? She with us? Yeah. Not dead, just retired. It's, God damn it, Morgan Freeman just does the best lines. No, not dead, just retired. And so they're like, we got to plug this leak here. This bleeding's not stopping. And he's like, we can go to the Eagle's Nest. Then we all get shot. And it's like, I'll just go in by myself. You want a vest? Wouldn't do any good. And you're introduced to Helen Mirren, who is running this extravagant B&B, bed and breakfast. And it's like, wow, dude, you getting major Martha Stewart vibes, but she actually used that as, yeah, that's what I remember about Morgan Freeman in this movie, him getting shot. Well, they actually show you that in the beginning where that scene where he just puts his head down when that guy came to get him, he turns around and he shoots him. Or he kills the other guy that was there to kill him because he also has a silencer. And you get, yes, your bunny, or the bunny. Dude, funny thing about Helen Mirren, she beat out She beat out Beyonce in Best Bikini Body. Helen freaking Mirren beat out Beyonce with her bikini body. That's saying something, folks. That's saying that Helen Mirren, thing is, Helen Mirren is actually quite attractive even for her age. I mean, I'm pretty sure that even Lethal would probably tap that if he's still in the chat. We should probably get Lyndon on that. Anyway, so he's like, "You here to kill me?" No. Then she sees, "You've been shot." And the pouty look on Bruce Willis's face is like, he just has such a pouty face. Well, Beyonce is built like a man, so yeah, and she also did that song "If I Was a Boy," so yeah. I mean, I really hate Beyonce. To be full clarification, folks, Beyonce is fucking trash in my opinion. I mean, many reasons. Yeah. But anyway, she's not a factor in this movie. So everybody gets introduced, and Joe introducing her. She did date Liam Neeson, so she'd have to be fit. Are you fucking kidding me? No, seriously. She dated Liam Neeson dated her. Aren't they like? I need to see something, folks. I'm sorry. This is just way weird. I need to figure out some stuff here. Alrighty. How old is Liam Neeson?
Liam Neeson is 68 years old.
Okay.
He was born on June.
How old is Helen Mirren?
Helen Mirren is 75 years old. She was born on July 26, 1945.
7 years. She was born in 1945. Holy shit. They were in Excalibur together. Interesting. But yeah, I can confirm she did. Well, son of a bitch. All right, thank you, Riot. But yeah, that is interesting. So, you figure out more about her. She's like, she's the best wet work asset ever, and a true artist with an RPM. What's that? I kill people, dear. I just love that. She's like, just nonchalantly, I kill people, dear. How you doing, Phil? Good to see you. And so she helps his arm, or she helps to get the bullet out of his arm. You were lucky, and whatnot. And he's like, how'd you do it? Do what? How'd you make the transition? Oh, I just love it here. I love the cooking, the flower arranging. I like the routine. And he looks at her. He's like, that can't be all. And so you learn more about her. She's like, I do get a bit restless sometimes. And then she looks back away and then looks at him. She's like, I do take the odd contract on the side. He smiles knowing it. My dad has me look up a bunch of celebrities and their relationships and their acting roles, so that's how I know. You want to know something funny? Everybody says that Fisher and what's her name was royalty, and they probably are, but look how long Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell have been together. I think they're still together. But yeah, not married, but they're still together, which is pretty cool. Now, she's like, I just can't stop. So we get a fact that Victoria is not psychopath, but she loves killing people. So it's like, oh my gosh. So they find out, or they're looking through the Guatemala file, because Ernest Borgnine just gave them the file. And it's like, oh shit. So there's an Alexander Dunning. We find out more about him. He's a defense contractor, weapons, whatnot, and yada. So they decide that they got to go visit him. And during this time, or right after the whole fight at the CIA, Cynthia, who is the person who assigned Carl Urban the task of killing Moses, is like, you just got your ass handed to you by a goddamn retiree. What did you get? I have no idea. And you're like, I like you, Cooper. You're ambitious and you get results, but somebody just kicked in the front door of our house, so you better get your shit straight. Nothing in your mission has changed. So then she gets an anonymous, or then she calls him while he's looking at his wife or his two kids sleeping, as a father would do. And this is a nice setup here as well, where he is a married man, has two kids. It comes to play later on. Everybody would think it's just a throwaway little thing here. No. As I said, this movie is richly interwoven and detailed. And that is what I like about movies like this. The complexities, the tie-ins, all of it. It works. And every little minute detail that you think is little, it actually has something to do with the plot. Or a subplot even. Richard Dreyfuss is the person that they go visit, Alexander Dunning. And so they do a little bit of dress up. Freaking Morgan Freeman looks like a French black Napoleon Bonaparte, just tall. So they go into into his little place. They tie him up. They knock him out. And that you learn that the person who they extracted and whose shit they cleaned up in 81 Guatemala is the vice president of the United States. Went completely off the reservation, slaughtered an entire village, and yeah, they had to clean it up. And so he's like, he wants to get rid of me because he's about to run for president. Well, okay, so now you think that the vice president is a very horrible fucking guy. That's what I remember, Morgan Freeman, Napoleon Bonaparte. Exactly. Biden called it. Oh, dude, seriously. Yes. God damn it, Oz. That was good. So, the lines between between Morgan Freeman and Richard Dreyfuss, you can't touch me. Sure you can. Smack. Or sure we can. Smack. And he just bitch slaps him. And then there's a lot of commotion because the CIA guy gets there. So they're working with the FBI and whatnot. And that was an anonymous tip. And also, while they're talking in there, there's girl time with Sarah and Victoria. And he's like, Frank told me you wanted me with you. Yeah, I thought that we could have a little girl time, a little chat, and, talk or get to know each other. And of all the years I've known Francis, I've never seen him like this. So if you break his heart, I will kill you and leave your body, or bury your body in the woods. And how do you take something like that? Okay, wow. Okay, yeah. Oh, this is going to be fun. I mean, I'm sorry, but I would be fucking out of there, far away from her after that sort of shit. But yeah. So they find out that everything's going down, something's going up, but also the track that Richard Dreyfuss plays starts skipping, which tips off the FBI that there's some weird shit going on in there. And he's like, can I just shoot him now? No, you don't have people killed. I have people killed. I'm the bad guy, remember? Off topic, but I finished Transformers Prime Season 2. Stuff just got real dark. Nice! I'll have to check it out if I can get, or if I can get Netflix again. How do you take something like that at face value? Bitch has killed people. Yeah, I mean, but I'm sorry. For me, it would scare the fuck out of me if somebody just basically told me, or break somebody's heart. I don't know how a fucking relation's gonna go. What if she fucking breaks my heart? But anyway. So then they realize that only one of them's getting out of there, or one of them is going to have to make the hard choice. And unfortunately, Joe is sacrificed, and everybody starts running, and we don't really know who shoots Joe. One would think it's Victoria, but Victoria is behind them, not in front of him, and you literally see the shot and squib go off on the front of his jacket. So he's like, who fired the shot? Tis but a flesh wound to have an arm broken. Yeah. And so they're trying to escape, and unfortunately Sarah trips up and gets caught. And then they get rescued by Ivan, and he's like, and then he calls Victoria Bunny in Russian, and he's like, life is complicated, Francis. And so they're at his house, and they're like, to Joe. And then frickin' John Malkovich has to make Frank uncomfortable. He's like, what about Frank's girlfriend? If we go public, it won't work very well. They'll kill her so fast. I mean, they'll, of course, interrogate her, torture her and whatnot. They probably already got the wires out. Give her a jump, give her a snorkel. And he's like, Marvin! So, while Victoria was talking to Sarah, and she's like, I was in love once with another operative. I was with MI6 and it wasn't sanctioned. So when it came to light, MI6 told me that I had to prove my loyalty. They told me to kill him. Oh my God, what'd you do? Put 3 bullets in his chest. And you then find out later that Brian Cox's character, Ivan, he's like, I want to show you something. He pulls his shirt down and he's like, this was given to me by the love of my life. It seems that what we had was not meant to be. But now she sits outside my door, drinking vodka. Do not worry for your love, my friend, for with a small dedicated group, there's nothing that can't be accomplished. Okay, Captain Planet! So, they go to a nice little storage facility where Frank Castle just has like a small to medium-sized armory. And before they do that, or one of the things that they do before that is one of the darkest things I've ever seen a hero do, or a heroic character do. And Bruce Willis calls Cooper. He's like, here's this thing, Cooper. With age comes a little bit of perspective. And it wasn't the killing that slowed me down. It wasn't all this. And they're tracing the call. And he's like, it's that anything that you love can be taken from you at a moment's notice. And the feeling, like that kind of feeling, is almost indescribable. And then he does threaten the family. And he's like, you still there, Cooper? You're at my house. And then he's looking down at the family. The family has no idea he's even there. And he's like, almost indescribable, isn't it? He's like, please don't hurt my family. He humbles Cooper in this moment. He realized, or Cooper does not or he thought he could have the upper hand, but then he realized just how fucking real shit gets. And he's like, if anything happens to Sarah, I will rip everything you love out from your life. He's like, I promise you, Sarah will be kept safe. I'm hearing some weird shit, folks. Give me 1 second. I will be right back. And I'm back. Sorry about that. It just happened to be somebody outside, one of the workers at the apartment complex. So, welcome to Price is Right Review. How are you doing? And yeah, we're talking Red 1 and 2. So, he asked him, he's like, what are you going to do, Frank? I'm going to kill the vice president. What are you going to do? So, they have that whole thing set up, and it is very elaborate. I mean, holy crap, the stuff, how they get in there, how they have it all set up, the passing things under were in full view of everybody, but also very covertly. Frickin' Marvin is just getting in there and whatnot. And you see how, one second. Much better. It's just well done. And then the dance between Victoria and Ivan, you could tell that the chemistry there literally convinces you that those two are in love pretty much in real life. Not that they are in love in real life, but it is very well done. And I really enjoyed this whole scene where they're setting everything up. And then Julian McMahon, who's the vice president, Dr. Doom from the original Fantastic Four, he's the vice president and exploring a committee to be president or run for president. And they have a little gas. She gives Ivan a little gas thing, and he's starting to spray the gas everywhere, and everybody else is getting set up and whatnot. Cooper is now part of the Secret Service detail, and even Cynthia, his handler, is like, well, Frank called in, yada yada, and so he's like, yeah, well, he will take a shot at the VP, and she's like, that's a problem for the Secret Service. He'll tear him apart. Plug me into their detail. You got it. So you also see in her reactions in some of the stuff that they're talking about that she's like, okay, I don't want him getting too far into this. So she actually does try to get him out of there, but she doesn't really. When she's like, that's a problem for the Secret Service, that's her literally trying to get Cooper to back off. But because he's ambitious and he wants to stop it all and whatnot, well, yeah. An Aussie actor and a Kiwi, whoever cast for Red knows talent when they see it. You're damn right. I mean, a lot of the best talent that I have seen in recent years have come from Australia and have come from New Zealand. That's just that's objective fact. I mean, you also have some of the older actors who are really good, but think about it. Freaking Tamara Morrison is one of the best actors I've seen, and he's not really well known, but he does a great job in whatever he does. He did a great job in Aquaman. Not a really good movie objectively, but his character was very well done, you know? But anyway, so then they start setting it all off. Victoria locks or uses her necklace to block one exit with the doors, and then Ivan sets off a fire alarm because he freaks everybody out. I smell gas and whatnot. And so the VP tries getting out, or you actually will recognize one of the Secret Service people who's bald and has some kind of childish eyes. He's in Hulk, or the Incredible Hulk, the one with Ed Norton. He's one of the guys from one of those Puerto Rican guys that love to go after Ed Norton. And he was also in X3, or X-Men United, that horrible movie, where he's the guy that grows his arm back and then gets kicked in the nuts by Wolverine. Grow those back. But yeah, anyway, that dude just was shoving everybody out of the way to get the VP out of there. And so Victoria has a freaking 50 caliber. This thing shoots up freaking, or goes through armored vehicles like wow. But yeah, so she's shooting it up, Marvin's there shooting it up, and you see Ivan going into the elevator. Going up, coming out. Ah, yes. They see the secondary limo system coming up to get the VP with the pen detonator. And yes, it's confirmed during the audio track for the CIA guy or with the CIA guy, that yes, those things can exist. You can put a detonator inside of a pen. It's like, holy shit, that's pretty cool. So yeah, but it's incredibly short range detonator, just so you know. Marvin's bomb scene was great. Yes, it truly is. So then they get out there. There's the trading fire back and forth with the Secret Service, with Victoria and Marvin. And Cooper realizes they've been had. He's like, outside! And freaking Marvin's like, I remember the CIA being tougher. Me too. And then she gets shot, and she's like, Marvin, or they get out of there, and she's like, Marvin, you go on ahead. There's no use waiting for me. He's like, nope. You see the sadness on Marvin's face. Ivan to the rescue, yes. And then he saves her. Then they get outside, and they're like, what the hell? And freaking John Malkovich, dude, how he just handles this bomb scene. Yeah! Just runs right with the fucking bomb, man. It's like, holy shit. And it's perfect because then it's Frank Moses with the save. He's the one driving, knocks out the Secret Service, drags him out, gets him out. And you see how much of a sniveling weasel the vice president is. And this leads up to the climax, where you see that it's actually Richard Dreyfuss who was coming up with all these hits and whatnot. And you see that that's just how it is. And then he shoots the VP, and he's like, okay, so here's what's going to happen. You kill Frank Castle just shot the VP. You arrest him, you're the head of the CIA. And Cynthia's also there with Sarah, and he's like, I tore up all those checks. And she's like, I know. And at this point, Cooper's kind of understanding that not everything is on the up and up. So he hands Frank Castle a key after he cuffs him, and Frank Castle goes right up to freaking Richard Dreyfuss, boom, right in the throat, collapsing his airway completely. Also, snipers are taking out Dreyfuss's men, and yeah, so then it's all well and good. And then John Malkovich pops Richard Dreyfuss. He's like, feel better? Yeah. Want to get pancakes? And so then you'd think that's the end of the movie. So he's like, nobody's chasing after us. Something bad's going to happen very soon. And I think we finally got our lives like, almost. Oh my God, Ivan, you still owe me one favor. And there's a small nuclear problem in Moldova. Now, there's a deleted scene to this scene where friggin' you got John Malkovich looking like Greta Thunberg with the pigtail hair or braids and whatnot. And you got Bruce Willis hauling him out with a nuke. Well, I told you something bad was going to happen. Keep your dress on. Moldova sucks. Moldova sucks. And there's a scene where he's like, I always wanted to blow a big one. It's like, no, man, turn it off. I don't want to be here. I want to be with Sarah. I want to enjoy my life. It's just so great. That's the deleted scene that takes place after that scene, but it's so freaking awesome that I wanted to put it in. So then we get to Red 2, where you get a sense where this is more of a comic book movie. Now, Red 1, objectively, I would put it at an 8.5. Subjectively, it's 10. I loved it. I enjoyed it. It's great. And for moviegoer, it's 10. Where Red 2, I would actually put it objectively at a solid 8. This is not as good as the second or as the first movie, but it's still enjoyable from a subjective point. It's still 10 out of 10, both subjective and moviegoer. it also has a wider ensemble of cast members. You got Byung-hun Lee, who played Storm Shadow in the G.I. Joe movies. You got freaking Catherine Zeta-Jones. You got Anthony Hopkins. You got freaking Neil McDonough coming in. You got David Thewlis. Girlfriend is home. Have a good one, mate. Thank you, Oz, for stopping in. And thank you for tuning in. So we get to the second movie. Now, I will not go play by play. I will simply say this. The second movie does start with the boring domestic life where Bruce Willis and Mary Louise Parker, Sarah and Frank are at I think it's like a Walmart or it's an outlet store. It's basically you get all your shit there. And you're learning some of his, or you also see that Marvin is there. He's like, "You're playing house. Look, Kimosabe, I need you. They're coming." And he's like, "You haven't killed anyone in weeks or months." He's like, "That's a good thing." So Marvin thinks that somebody's trying to kill him. And, well, we all know that Marvin kind of is right with a lot of these things. How you doing, Keely? Good to see you. And we're going over Red 2 now. We just did Red 1. And one of the things I liked about Red 2 was this story was fast-paced from start to begin, or from start to end, where there really isn't any slowdown. I mean, maybe a little bit, but there really isn't. So when they get going, all the ways that these characters are introduced is perfect. Freaking Byung-hun Lee's character Han Shobai, freaking reintroduction to Victoria. She's like, "Oh, I'm with somebody right now," and she's just killing everybody in that room. It's just hilarious. So when Marvin is, well, he's like, "Last chance, Frank." And he's like, "Stay safe." He fakes his own death, but it's so convincing this time. And Bruce Willis literally puts a pin through his hand, through freaking Marvin's hand while he's in the casket. Like, he's not dead. No, don't do that, honey. No, he does this a lot. And then he pricks his hand again with the pin. He's like, "Really? Okay, he's gone, honey. I should kiss him." "Okay. Hey, do you want to?" No. It's just so freaking hilarious. And so Frank has to do a eulogy, man. He was a great shot, good friend. He could wire a bomb like no one else. The good people of Moldova will always be in Marvin's death. And I'm like, oh my god. So then he gets picked up by CIA, and this is an introduction to Neil McDonough's character. He's like, where you think he's his lawyer, and instead he's an assassin. And Frank's like, "I really don't know what you guys are talking about," because they want to know what Nightshade is, because something like Nightshade is, well, they honestly have no idea. So then he's like, they hear the gunfire, and it's like, "What is that?" "Small arms fire, 200 yards. 100 yards. You got to get me out of here. Come on." He's like, "You can't do that, sir. We're both going to be dead if you don't." And the guy's just finally freaking is convinced as he gets killed. So it sucks. And so then Neil McDonough just comes in, the most savage character ever, where he talks about how he's going to fillet freaking Sarah from head to toe with no mercy. And what Frank just says, "Awesome," and just busts the damn table with his head. This is more of a comic book movie, and it fits because they also do like little comic book cover things when they've transitioned to different scenes, which I thought was a good touch. Also, another thing that they don't, or that you don't realize, well, they do point it out in the movie, or in the beginning of each movie. These red movies are actually done by DC because they're actually comics from DC Comics, and I just thought that they were translated very well in film. So you find out that Nightshade or somebody leaked something on WikiLeaks and about a weapon called Nightshade. Well, now the CIA wants Frank Moses dead. They just labeled him as a nuclear terrorist, and Marvin Boggs is back to life because he's like, hey, brought the key, cuts his cuffs. He's like, you faked your death. You have no idea what you put me through. And the way that they fight together, or they fight with each other, he's like, I will shoot you. I will shoot you in the liver. Frank, I was very touched that you cried at my funeral. He looks at his wife because she was supposed to lay low. He's like, you know how we told you, how we agreed you were going to lay low? You don't get to tell me when to lay. But yeah, he's like, I didn't cry at your funeral. I'm no crier. It's just great. Also, I really don't want to give the play-by-play. Red 2, it does have great introductions with Byung-Hun Lee, how he has to prove that he is the top assassin in the world. He literally goes into a security system or through a security task force where he has to be stripped down and given no weapons at all and whatnot. And then he just takes a photo that the guy who contracts him to kill the other guy, he creates an origami like knife. And he's like, there's just one thing. Mr. Fernandez pays better. And then jabs him right here with the origami thing, cutting off his airway. And it's a slow death, and so he bows out, and there you go. And then he gets Frank Castle contract, and they get introduced to David Thewlis, the frog. David Thewlis is a wine connoisseur selling secrets to everyone, and is just freaking great in this movie, where he loves wine. He also uses, or the reason why they call him the frog, he takes tree hugger. He takes Brazilian poison dart frogs from the Amazon and takes their poison and just uses it to paralyze and kill people. Freaking Catherine Zeta-Jones playing a Russian, and also the interesting history with Frank Moses and how she plays him like a fiddle. And the back and forth in this movie is so great. Han catching up to him. Han is a very vain assassin too, but he also really hates Frank Moses because Frank Moses ended up turning him into a pariah because he had to betray him. The constant stories and interwoven relationships between each one of these characters is just fleshed out and so great. Also, the scene with the guy that tells them about Nightshade, how he's like, how he was in how Marvin freaking just yes, it is good to see you, Keely. How Marvin has been caramelizing his onions for a few days. He's like, caramelizing them how, Marvin? Well, with 3 tabs of acid and a lot of rats. And it's like, oh shit, man. They just start slapping dude, hugging him, slapping him, hugging him, slapping him, hugging him. The way that they do all this shit. And you also see that it is very bad. This is the movie that did have a lot of very bad. This is a sequel that they had to rush. So you see that there's bad lighting and bad. God damn it, what am I trying to say? Blue screen and green screen. Now, when they get over into England and Victoria is there and she also is contracted to kill him, she ends up helping them, of course, and they get into the mental facility where Anthony Hopkins is, and it's like, oh my gosh, the way that Anthony Hopkins plays crazy is just freaking amazing. Anthony Hopkins plays crazy. He knows crazy because I'm willing to bet at some level Anthony Hopkins is crazy, folks. And I gotta say, he handles it freaking spectacularly. He's like, they go into his room, which also has a lock, and he's like, okay, I just got to find something. And then he walks right out, closes the door, opens, smiles at him, locks the freaking door. I'm like, oh my, they're like, oh shit. And they realize that they just got locked in. So they have to blow the door or shoot the lock and whatnot. And then he's like, hey, I'm over here, Frank. I found my medallion. I just couldn't find my blasted pipe. By the way, sorry, my dear. What was it that you asked me, by the way? Do you know where Nightshade is, or what Nightshade is? Oh, yeah, I believe it's some sort of bomb, I believe. And everybody wants me to find, but considering what I had to go through and them locking me in here, I think it's perfectly fine that I'd go F off. Then she gets freaking, she's like, okay, fuck this. Tases him. Then she gets captured, or she's like, why does MI6 want him captured so badly? And so he's like, we don't know, but you're going to have to find out. Oh, you know they're going to try to kill me. Well, that's because she is literally one of the top wet works in the biz, next to Han. Basically, I'm willing to bet she's number 2. Now, one of the best lines from Marvin is when they realize that Han is going after him. They're in the middle of a restaurant, and John Malkovich, man, God bless this man. He is such a great actor. Why don't they just dip our balls in honey and stick us to an ant farm in the middle of a restaurant, dude? And dude, it's like, holy shit, dude. Wow. Just wow. So they are now in Russia because they had to get smuggled into Russia. And every time they ask him about Nightshade, he does a little eccentricity thing. Like, where is the device? Who? And then he's like, do you know where the device is? Look at those cows, Frank. They look lovely, don't they? And then he pretends that there's a bunch of cows, and he starts marching and whatnot. And he's like, hey, ooh. And it's like, what the fuck? So then his memory starts to come back because of all the meds they had him on. Starts to wear off. But you also could tell that he's just playing it up too. Every time they asked him, do you know where Nightshade is? He would always just do something silly. But then when they're in Frank's first safe house that he hasn't used since the 80s. You see that, or God damn it, they have to go and find the device. Catherine Zeta-Jones is in this movie, and she used to be Frank's. She and Frank had a history, romantic history, and she played him like a freaking fiddle because she was part of the Russians, and she plays him in this movie. And the way that her and Sarah, how they're always at each other's throats during the operations, like to catch the frog and whatnot. They hate each other, and so Zeta-Jones and Bruce Willis catch the frog, but they're about to torture him, and they're not getting anywhere with him. So then it's Sarah's time to shine. So she just starts kissing the frog and seducing him and whatnot. And he's like, you all help. What a woman. And then she's like, you can suck it. Really? You got with that? It's beautiful drama, but also comedy. And it's a beautiful blend. It is a well-balanced movie, but there are problems with it. Some of the acting could have been a little bit better. Some of the cinematography could have been better in this movie, but it still kept very well. The digital effects in this movie were horrendous. You could tell when things were blue screen and whatnot, including inside the cars, which was just not fan. But they could have really tightened them up. Now, obviously, it turns out that when they finally get the device and they realize, well, that's Red Mercury. Red Mercury. We always thought it was Cold War myth, Frank. If that's if that's Red Mercury, you could zip it up in a backpack tour to the White House and nobody would know. It's completely undetectable. It's Literally or no fallout, but all the bang, none of the fallout. Kind of like what they did in, G.I. Joe 2. But yeah, so you find out that it's Anthony Hopkins was the one behind it the whole time. He released the page on the WikiLeaks, and he also made a deal with Neil McDonough's character, who's trying to pick up the trail of all of them, finally does, and whatnot. He's like, son of a bitch, okay. So then Victoria also finds out we didn't lock from her MI6 superiors. She's like, you locked one of our own up for 32 years. Don't you dare talk to me about, or if the wrong hand, or if that weapon falls in the wrong hands, the weapon? So they point out the thing. It's like, oh shit, you gotta let me warn them. Still late for that. So she has to break out, and then she calls him. He's a nutter, Francis. MI6 didn't lock him up because he created a weapon. They locked him up because he wanted to see it go off. And that's when you realize, oh shit, because that's when he actually finally drops all the pretense of craziness. And he's like, that was Victoria, wasn't it? Telling me how I'm some sort of monster who wanted to get revenge on the Soviet Empire and all that stuff. Oh yeah, I am a monster. And you see just how twisted this man is, how maniacal and how smart he is, how he's totally just manipulating everybody. Anthony Hopkins acting in movies, he can do comedy, he can do horror, he can do it all, and he does it well. And the actors and actresses that even were support characters, like Neil McDonough's character, was done very well. You get invested in each character, and it just works. So while I'm not going to go through all of the stuff with Red 2, because it would take all day if I did, the fight scenes between Hancho Bai and Frank Moses, Willis, and Bjorn is very well done. And when he convinces them to change sides and stuff, it's also pretty well done. And they have cordial discussions, but it's also funny discussions. And Sarah always wants her gun, so Frank finally gives her one. It's just, all of these scenes are just so well done. But it's not the objective quality, or the objective quality of this film, like I said, is an 8. But it's not because of the acting or the writing. Most of that is very solid. It's just that the digital and the blue and green screen and the lighting is what makes this movie suffer the most, because they had to rely too much on digital stuff and an artifice background in order to sell most of the shots, and it just doesn't work too well, especially when you're doing spinning cars and shooting out the windows and whatnot like that. It takes you a little bit out of it, but it also works too in a way, because it does kind of also give you a comic book feel. But anyway, we're at an hour 39, so I am going to start wrapping it up here, or getting to the climax, where they go to London and they are about to set, or he wants to set it off, so he activates the timer, which is in an hour, and it's like, timer's ticking and bomb's active. What do we do? Well, we got to get the hell out of London. So it's just so great. And he's like, so he kidnaps Sarah and gets it on the plane. And, Frank is also there. He gets on the plane and he has to take the bomb off the plane too. Or the case with the bomb. Turns out that Frank already put the bomb in the plane and took the case with him. And the bomb goes off while it's in flight. Now, that was also Han's plane. And he's like, that was my plane. You owe me $30 million for not killing you. and $20 million for the plane, $30 million for the plane, and $20 million for not killing you. You're a dead man, Moses. It's just a great ending into the movie. He's like, he's not serious. I'm serious, Frank. It really is a good Junebug. Good to see you. And these movies, one or together, do kind of give a different feel, but also a more worldly feel for the second movie, which is very well done. And the ending for this one, where she gets to just shoot out or just shoot up a freaking place in Caracas, is just nuts. I mean, she's just dancing and she just starts shooting. And she's like, I was like, what? And then you also see freaking John Malkovich dressed up as a woman with the whole fruit basket on the head kind of thing. And it's like, oh my God. And she accidentally shoots his banana. Anyway, and that's the end of the movie. So, yes, while Red 1 is 8.5 out of 10 objectively, Red 2 is a solid 8. Because the digital effects that they tried overly saturating in this movie did not work very well. And that's because it was a smaller studio, almost like, I think, Lionsgate that did it, but also Millennium Studios that did it as well. And that is why these movies were not as good as they could have been. However, the acting, the casting, the writing, not too much of the cinematography, but most of it was freaking great and spot on and truly had a wonderful story behind it all. Anyway, folks, that is where I am going to end this one. Thank you for tuning into the second episode of Mystery Reviews. If I have to, I will do the mystery reviews next week for Thursday morning instead of Wednesday morning, because I have to join my aunt to a doctor's appointment Wednesday next week. So it will probably be Thursday morning where I will do it. And the week after that, I think, is the week that I am attending a funeral. So I will not be doing any mystery review that following week. But I do want to thank everybody for joining in and listening to me discuss how much I like these movies and reviewing them. And yeah, thank you all, and hopefully you'll tune in on the next one. And I hope they do make Red 3 as well, Junebug. I really do, because it would be great to see them do another one. As for the loss, I do appreciate the condolences. There's a lot to unpack there, but yeah. Thank you for the condolences. Anyway, folks, that is going to be the video, the stream. Thank you all for tuning in. If you catch this on the replay, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What did you think of the Red 2 or Red 1 and Red 2 movies? Did you like them? All that stuff. Anyway, folks, this has been Orange Hat Reviews, and I'll catch you all on the next one. Stay tuned for Friday's Die Hard discussion stream. I still would like a couple more people to join on that panel if you want. So, yeah. Anyway, folks, take it easy, and I'll catch you all on the next one.